virus since the start of the season in October. Ingalls will be out at least 5 days. Could have been 10 days, but the CDC sold out to business operatives, right?
Exactly. Hey, look who's here. It's MJ.
Good morning, guys. You guys have sounded like you've had a really fun morning.
Oh, yeah. We have.
Yeah, we have.
Just a little bit. Having a good time for this, brisk 32 degrees out there.
I am not hating this weather. So, to your point, Miss Panic about the water, okay, we're at 207% of snowpack now here in southwestern Utah.
Yes.
So I am all in on this. So let's do a week a month like we had last week. Because last week was
just once a month. That's all.
Once a month. From here through March, maybe even April. Because last week, for me, of course, on the one hand, I did have to come here for 2 days, so there was that. but also, we still had to get out and go. But first of all, I wasn't worried about getting up in the morning. But even when I did, I go, well, I can get to work, so I'm fine.
No, it wasn't bad at all. And
the mountains got crushed, which is good.
Yes, and that's where we need it. But the trend in the weather, as we have seen, is, we had so much rain in July and August that it flooded the entire valley, and then we didn't see a drop of rain till the end part of November?
Yeah.
No, we saw snow in October.
The October storm, and then we saw no weather. So I feel like we're on this, we're going to dump on you and be at this 200% and 300%. And then
and that's possible.
Not have any weather for a long time.
See, but I'm thinking, let's wait till the last week or so of January or the third week, get our next week worth of weather.
Okay, yeah, fair.
And then wait through towards the end of February, get another week's worth of weather.
Fair enough. Good morning. It's Wired Wednesday with McKenna Hansen. In studio today, we have a new sponsor, NorthRidge Roofing and Exteriors with Justin Spinks. How are you today?
Good. How you doing?
Good. You got to come up to the mic. You got to be at least 2 inches or something.
Yeah,
Don't be scared of the mic.
Really, the voltage we've applied to it's pretty mild. It's just a mild shock. So.
Only a mild shock. Justin, what are you seeing out there for roofs now with all the weather we've had?
We had a bunch of roofs we were doing from that hailstorm in Enoch and Cedar, and then, like you guys are just talking about the weather, it dumped on us, so it kind of slowed things down. We don't roof if it's not 40 or above in sunlight, just to get proper sealing, and so it kind of slowed everything down. But this is the time of year where we get high winds here, and what we see is shingles start coming off from windstorms, and that's really big around here in St. George, Hurricane, Cedar City, Enoch, Fairlawn.
What if a windstorm happened in the middle of it?
It's weird that a place called Hurricane would have winds, but
that's a hurricane, I think. Hurricane.
Spelled the same.
With all the wind that we do have, if somebody did have a wind loss in the last, let's say the last storm, because we did have some pretty gusty things go through. Is it they need to crawl up on the roof in the middle of the storm? Would it last through the storm and then they need to get it fixed? What does that look like?
Well, that could cause potential leaking, so it's good to call a contractor. If you call us, we'll come out and check it out. And there's a lot of factors that go into the roof. If it's an older shingle, it's discontinued, brittle and old, we can usually check the shingle and maybe get the whole roof covered by insurance, just like hail damage. It's similar. So it's good to get someone out there if you notice shingles blowing off to check it out for sure, because you get snowpack on the roof and it gets behind those shingles and you can get interior leaking, which will cause more damage than you want. So.
Oh my! And with all the different things going on, and a shingle versus metal, what if a whole metal roof rolled up?
That'd cause a lot of leaking, but you don't usually see that as much. Those metal roofs have a pretty good wind warranty, but the shingles is where this time of year, especially with the windstorms we had the last month, we've seen more shingles blow off, and so.
Okay, I have a challenge. I have a couple of things. So as we've been talking and discussing about all the different roof situations over the last 6 months we've been associated, I've just been noticing more and more roofs. So I'll drive around town and be like, oh yeah, that roof needs some attention. Or, oh, that looks good. It was brand new or something. So there's 3 different roof styles in my neighborhood specifically. There's like a gable and more of a more almost flat gable rather than, I have a really steep pitch, but mine's all shingle. Because of the steep pitch, I can't have metal because the snow would just, bury the other side of my house, right? But in one of the houses, they have solar panels over the shingles, and all of the shingles underneath have literally bubbled up. Like you can see, you could go play a piano chord on how much they've bubbled up. That's like how many are there. How do you deal with those types of things where they have solar panels and kind of some extra accessories on the house? Maybe the chimneys are starting to leak because of maybe they're not sealed appropriately. What does that look like?
So we work with solar companies as well. And so they are supposed to, most of them have a requirement for the condition and age of the roof before they can put the panels on. But what we see is that always doesn't happen. Someone will put panels on a roof that's not really, should have been replaced. And so in that case, if we get a roof covered by insurance, or if somebody wants to just get the roof replaced, we would have the panels removed, replace the roof, and then have them put back on. And then with chimneys and stuff, the flashing gets old and you get leaks there. So it's just, if your roof's getting that old, I would recommend having just an inspection done. We do free inspections. We don't charge for that, just to come out and hop up there and see what's going on.
Interesting.
Let's get to the Let's get to the depth of the issue here. When is it to the point where, all right, you just need a new roof? What has to happen, and then what are we looking at as far as getting it done and stuff?
Like she said, if it's looking old, if it's 20 years old, but I've seen shingles that are on certain manufacturers that are 5 years old and they're out, or 10. So if it starts looking old or you're getting leaking, and just have someone come look at it. If it's old enough, it needs to be replaced. We'll take an assessment of the roof and take a bunch of pictures and let the customer know what's going on. And then from that point, we'll just send them an estimate via email of what that would require.
We actually had our roof reshingled about 5 years ago. But there's gonna come a point where the whole thing has to come off. I mean, do you actually take a roof off and put a new one on?
Yeah, we don't. A lot of companies will do layovers. I don't do them. The problem with the layover is you've got an existing layer of shingles, and if you drive around the neighborhood, you'll notice roofs look wavy. Mm-hmm. It's because they put the shingles on top. Also, with the thickness of the first layer, you're decreasing the amount of nail that can go through the decking. Mm-hmm. So we don't do that. A, it doesn't look good, and B, you risk the chance of it leaking or shingles coming off. So we don't do layovers. We take everything.
So you replace the whole roof.
Yeah.
Now, how long of a process is that usually?
So we'll tear off a roof in about a day, half a day, and then we can usually put it back on the next day, up to a certain size.
So during that time, are the people in the home like living literally without a roof over their heads?
No, what we do is we take the roof off. We dry it in with the synthetic felt, which is like Tyvek house wrap. So we completely waterproof the roof overnight. And
I think what I guess we need to clarify too is we're leaving the sheet board on.
The decking stays on
unless the decking's damaged.
Yeah. And the other reason why we take the roof off too is because we don't know what was done prior. So it's best to get everything off so we can look at the decking to see if it's rotted. And if it's rotted, we'll let the customer know, hey, we got to replace these sheets because we're going to do it properly the first time. Make sure we waterproof this roof so it doesn't have any existing issues, that we're not just putting a Band-Aid on something.
Well, and they're not taking it off to where the trusses are exposed. They're just taking it off to the plyboard or the sheet.
Correct.
To make sure that they're getting to that fine layer. When you do layer, there's other issues that you can't see, yes. Right? And then I think to Tim's point, the second layer doesn't last as long as it should, or...
No, when you're putting weight on the roof too, like I checked a roof down in a hurricane 2 months ago, and this thing had 4 or 5 layers on it. And it was so bad that the guy's truss plates at the top had separated. Well, we did the math on how much weight was up there, and it was like 23,000 pounds of shingles, and that creates a problem. Those trusses are made for the load barrier so they can withstand that. That's why like concrete tile roofs are heavy, so they got to make those trusses a certain way to hold that weight. So when you start stacking layers on, it can create more problems than just the roof's wearing out.
You know, I've picked up a sheet of shingles, a single sheet, and they're really flimsy and maybe 3 pounds. You don't think of an entire roof. You know, that's what, 500 or 600 of those sheets or more.
Yeah, and it adds up, and people don't realize it. So that's another reason why we don't layer either. And then also your roof needs to breathe properly, and so proper ventilation, we check that. And if you start
hold on. How does a roof breathe?
So you've got to have proper ventilation from the eaves, which is underneath, and then you got to have ventilation up top so the hot air escapes in and out of the roof, so it can circulate through.
And that's called breathing.
Or ventilation, and so
I love this.
A lot of roofs too will age prematurely because they don't have proper ventilation. If they don't have ventilation up top, the hot air just sits in that roof, and the sun we get in the summertime just bakes those shingles on. Then the winter comes and you get the brittle temperatures, and they just prematurely age faster.
See, I'm worried about the roof here on this building actually.
Really?
Because so much hot air emanates from this studio most of the time.
Well, very specifically, yes. There's no ventilation. Well, there is one single vent-ish. At least you have a sprinkler. Like, it could cool down at that point.
Yeah, I guess. We have 2 sprinklers.
Oh, 2. Sorry. Justin, what is your best advice for us going? I mean, we're in the middle of winter for our area. We're going to kind of be seeing some, I'm going to call them Indian summers, where they get a little bit warmer and then get colder.
I hate to, we're not even in the middle of winter yet.
Well, no, but for this area, I don't think we don't see any substantial snow, at least from the Mother's Day storm that we always get.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe a February and March storm. We're mostly out of the rocks with that. At least for the 20 years that I've lived here.
Yeah. But the colder days are still ahead.
Yes, oh no, cold is a whole nother factor, but like storminess. So you guys can't do anything in 40 below. Below 40, excuse me.
We don't like to do that because the shingles have to seal properly. I mean, we use a special shingle with the nail strip that it will stick. It won't come off your roof at all.
I remember doing
for the tar to seal, we want to make sure it's 40 or above. So we just don't want to risk it. We'd rather do it right the first time than have a bunch of shingles blown off the roof and not sealed properly. We got to come back and redo something that should have been done right the first time.
Well, you know, of course, if people took half the time to do it right and not half the time to do it wrong, then we'd be that much farther ahead. With the flashing of chimneys and all of the fireplaces that we have in town, when do we need? How do we know when to check them, or do we need to inspect them every year? What does that look like?
You can have a chimney person inspect that, or a roofer come inspect around the roof. I would recommend if your roof's, every 5 years get it checked out. Most roofs should last, depending on the shingles we put on. Well, the shingles we put on are more of a premium grade, so they should last at least 30 years. But
wow.
I'd say every 5 years get the roof checked out and see what's going on. And then, unfortunately, the telltale sign is always when the roof leaks. Like, you don't really look at your roof until it leaks. I got a leak, and then most of the time that's at the point you do it. But
yes. Well, unfortunately, we have a swamp cooler, and so my husband is up on the roof every spring and every fall, whether we're truly looking at the roof or not, or just walking up and over and doing the maintenance on the swamp cooler. But we noticed in one of the really breezy rainstorms we had, I don't know, a month or so ago, that just at our chimney that comes through the house, like it's a full brick, everything, the water was coming through just on the brick. And we were like, how does it get through all of that? But I'm thinking we need to get resealed.
It's because of the flashing. And so when we do roofs, I bet you 50% of the time they're not flashed properly. Those swamp coolers tend to leak. The decking gets wet underneath. So
we're not going to talk about that part.
So when we take the roof off, we assess all of that. We basically we check the roof and make it waterproof again, and so it's going to be proper.
And that's what you're saying with the felt layer.
Well, we put a new synthetic felt on, but we reflash everything. If the flashing's fine, then it's good. But we recheck everything. So we want to make sure that it's properly done. We don't have any leaks on roofs that we do. We rarely get called back for leaking or blowout, shingles blowing off.
That's incredible. A quality source roofing company who does the job right. How dare you, Justin, take care of this community. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for stepping up and doing that, because there's so many people, I mean, especially now, you know, people can't even find people to work, you know? So taking that extra time really to make sure that your clients, this community, this area is really taken care of in that. It's really incredible when you can find contractors and people who work in trades to do quality jobs, because they're either looking for the quantity of people they can help and lesser the quality. And it's really frustrating as a consumer, you know, and an insurance agent on both ends, to try and weed through those, because you're like, oh, well, I'm going to refer these other people business. You know, mitigation companies are in there, roofing companies are in there. I refer a lot of business out to help my clients when they have damages. But to refer a company that either doesn't show up or does a shoddy job,
It's not a good thing. That's a bad thing.
no, and especially with me, and I've learned this over the last, you know, I don't know, umpteenth years of me just as a personality, is I'm one, like, I'll trust you until I don't, but when I don't, it takes years to rebuild that relationship with me specifically. Other people are more forgiving than me, but if I've trusted Justin to take care of my clients. He's shown up, he's performed, and he has done exactly what he said he was going to do.
Well, we just like to maintain that. Like, with the inflation going up too, we've seen a dramatic increase in labor costs and material, but we're not going to sacrifice using an inferior product or finding cheaper labor to compensate for that. We're going to continue doing what we do because it builds a reputation in the communities, and we're here long term. We're not just coming here and leaving, and we want to.
Like some other companies from that northern place who have already left from that hail damage we had back. Not that I'm throwing anybody under the bus.
And there's still a lot of people out there that need those roofs done. We're finding, we get calls every week because companies leave, they're not staying here, or they still need the roofs done from that hailstorm. And so, if you needed a second opinion, or you need your roof replaced, call us. The best thing to do is to get on the schedule, because like the weather, it's going to push us back a couple months, but you know, get yourself on the schedule so the first thing in spring you get your roof replaced.
We should probably tell people what your company is and how to get a hold of you.
Justin.
So you can get a hold of us. Our website's builtbynorthridge.com, or you can call directly 435-817-3651. We're on Facebook. If you check our Facebook out, we usually post videos of all of our builds, so you can see what we're doing, our work, everything that's going on. We're pretty informative online and social media.
We've talked strictly about roofs today, but I see Built by NorthRidge, and you got your NorthRidge construction apparel on today. Are you just doing roofs, or do you go much further down?
So we work with a couple subcontractors that do gutters and siding and stuff like that. We're mainly an exteriors company. My background was full home building, so we kind of have a experience in that, but it's mainly roofing, but we do a lot of exterior work. But we're probably 90% roofing.
So do you work on new construction sites then too also?
We do. We're actually, we have a project with a company, a great builder in Cedar called Diamond K Homes Development, and we're going to be doing a roof for them up in this new subdivision here. It's a specialty roof. It's a pretty big project, so we do new construction stuff as well.
And when you say this new subdivision, there's so many of them. Which one are you looking at?
It's the one by the car dealers off Main Street. I forget what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Up by the golf course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we put a bid in for that, and I think we'll get that. It's a specialty roof. It's a stone coated steel. It looks like tile, but it's steel. And a lot of people here don't know what that kind of roof is, and we specialize in. We've done about 3 or 4 of those types of roofs. So that's a new build that we're doing, and so we're
That's exciting.
about that.
There's new technology even in the roofing industry. Justin, you have been incredible. I look forward to having you on the show through the next year. We do have a new list of sponsors for this year for Wired Wednesday. They'll be coming in this first quarter. We are really excited to have Justin and his team behind us and making sure we're getting adequate information on roofing and the different issues that revolve around that.
Let's get your contact information out again then, Justin, if we could.
So you can call us at 435-817-3651 or send an email to Built by NorthRidge, or that's the website, or you can, my direct email is jspinks.northridge@gmail.com, but the best way is to reach me on the phone number.
Okay. And are you scheduling right now?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
So we're scheduled for the springtime.
But not much actual work right now because of the temperatures?
No.
Okay. Yeah, understood
Hopefully
that.
that clears up soon.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for joining us for Wired Wednesday. This is your host, McKenna Hansen, your local Farm Bureau financial agent. My number is 435-592-2021, specializing in commercial workers' comp, farm and ranch protection. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, and one last time. Let's find out what may or may not be happening on the